prepared to receive Rev Todd's message. This one is simple. I trust in the divine that breathes through me. I trust in the divine that breathes through me. Breathe. I trust in the divine that breathes through me. Breathe. With all that I am, all that I have, all that I could be. I trust in the divine that breathes through me. Breathe. I trust in the divine that breathes through me. Breathe. With all that I am, all that I have, all that I could be. I trust in the divine that breathes through me. Breathe. I trust in the divine that breathes through me. Breathe. Trust in the divine that breathes through me. Breathe. I trust in the divine that breathes through me. Trust in the divine. I trust in the divine. Breathe through me. Breathe through me.
Thank you, Deidrey. The warp and the weft. Does anybody know those words? No?
Yes. I saw him in the email. I saw him in the email.
You saw them in an email. Well, Steve opened up his newsletter. Anybody ever done any weaving? The warp and the weft. The warp on a loom are the threads that go up and down, and then the weft is the thread that is on the shuttle that you push through, and then you it's a big loom. You have foot pedals, and you can push a foot pedal, and the warp will shift. And as you run the shuttle back, and you keep moving things, and that's how you actually end up with something beautiful like this stole that was made for me by my friend Kim, a boy named Kim. Bet he got mispronounced a lot. And this has been coming up because this stole was made as a gift for me when I got ordained the first time. We got another one coming up. But for my very first stole, I think y'all know that my eventual time in seminary happened because my father passed away. But I wanted my father to be a part of my ordination experience, because the whole reason was my stepmother's like, you have put this off long enough. You all know that I ran from this for years. And so I went to my stepmother and I said, hey, do you still have Dad's neckties? And so I laid all the neckties out on the sectional sofa. There were more than 200 neckties. Some of them were very old. And so I laid them all out, and I picked out a color palette, and I made this stole. Now, here's the interesting thing about fabric that has been woven on a loom. if you don't study that fabric and find out which direction the warp and the weft are going, and you cut it, it begins to fray. Much like my relationship with my father did eventually, before his death. And it seems to me that last week we talked, you remember we talked about trust. We talked about the fact that we have to invest our trust in the truth. And sometimes trusting other people feels, have I ever been frustrated when you trusted somebody else?
Yeah.
Because they don't, or you trusted what you wanted to believe about that person, or you trusted the agreements that you made in your own mind and you never communicated to that person. Or am I the only one that does that? Kind of better. When we make agreements and don't tell people about the agreements that we've made with who we believe them to be, we're cutting up fabric and we're stitching it together to make it look the way we want it to look, and it can fray. It can fray. And so sometimes that makes us decide, hey, I don't need them in my life. I don't care what they have to say, because they're not showing up to be who I want them to be, who I think they should be, whom I've decided they are without telling them who I think they are. So we trust in God. But you know what? There's only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life and in your life, God the good. And so sometimes we need to realize that God is going to show up to help us achieve our good using other people. Our good's going to show up because, you know what? It's all God. And sometimes we may think, oh, this does not feel good. This does not look the way I want it to. I have been sold into slavery and sent to another country. But now look at me and, dressed like Armand in my, suit of many colors. Because whatever happens, God means it for good. And I don't mean God, some old man up in the sky sitting in a throne with a magic wand and a fly swatter. Right? Sometimes it feels like we're getting slapped down. God doesn't grant wishes. God just gives. This energy, this divine energy just gives to us. And so our task becomes to stay in that place, that place of silence and stillness, no matter what's happening out here, no matter the hardships that appear in the world. We have to stay focused on the stillness, the silence, the truth that we are one with this creative energy, and that it is breathing us now, and it wants us to show up as nothing but love. Say it loud, okay? Love. Y'all got to talk back to me. It's not enough to sit in that silence and to connect with that energy of creation, the universe, whatever you want to call it. Absolute good, unconditional love, unlimited, showing up at the point of you and of me in every moment. And sometimes it's difficult to wrap our heads around this, because does anybody else get some messages sometimes that you're not worthy? Does that ever happen? Multiple times a day? Every time you turn on the TV, the radio, or you look at social media and you see how amazing everyone else's life is. I mean, they are living the good life, and how on earth can I compete with that? I must be unworthy. Whew. That's just spin, folks. Instead of spinning around in that craziness, we go to the silence. We go to that stillness within that's always available to us. And then we carry that wherever we go. Right? Because if we just do it on Sunday, it's just a hobby. I want to read to you this morning. I told you earlier this year I was going to continue introducing you to some of the writings of some really powerful New Thought authors. So I want to introduce you today to Joel Goldsmith. Anybody heard of Joel Goldsmith? Okay. Of course, Lisa and Lori have. I need to get their reading lists for me. But, so Joel Goldsmith, and some of y'all I know are wondering, well, what on earth could I have in common with Joel Goldsmith? Joel Goldsmith served in World War I, and he was a Marine.
Hoorah.
Hoorah. I don't know if I pronounced that right.
It's okay, we'll work on it.
We'll work on it. I can't really say raw without thinking about lifting up my pom-poms. So, and I don't think the Marines have pom-poms.
You don't know.
Some of them might. They don't ask anymore. This is from a chapter called The Science of Creation. In our humanhood, we are cut off from the source. This is what constitutes humanhood: a selfhood apart from God, a selfhood separate from God. But humanhood is a dream. We are never really separate from God, even though the effect on us is the same as if it were. To rise above humanhood, that is, above the experiences of a human being and human events, it becomes necessary, actually, for us to feel that we have God within our own being, to make a God contact. For that reason, in all my writings, you will find that attention is called to the necessity of beginning with this conscious awareness in the morning and continuing with it throughout the day until sleep comes at night. Abiding constantly in the consciousness of the presence of God. Heretofore, we have, for the most part, been satisfied to learn something of truth from a book or to make some affirmations. From this time on, that will not suffice. At some time during the day and during the night, you must make this conscious contact with the inner being, which we call God. Then, for the rest of the night, you can abide in that. But make that contact, make it a reality. The fullness of the ocean is always present in the wave, yes?
Yes.
But if the wave forgets, if the wave had an awareness and the wave is like, oh, I don't really realize I'm connected to the ocean, is it still connected to the ocean?
Yes.
Of course it is. And you are a wave in divine mind, always showing up. The fullness of absolute good and unconditional love is within each of us. Always. So we have the invitation and the responsibility to return our awareness over and over and over again to this truth. Because when we come back to the truth that in spite of what looks to be separation out here in this world, I am connected to the most divine. I am connected with divine love. Divine ideas come through me because I am a divine idea in the mind of creation. And when we return to that, we never run out of of thread on our loom, and our shuttle stays full, and we keep going back and forth. And then we weave in all of these other divine expressions of humankind, and we have this beautiful tapestry that we call life. Some of those other threads that intersect and show up in this weaving that we make, because we are depending on the God of these people showing up in our lives. The good that they carry forth is showing up in our lives, and we embrace that. And every once in a while, we'll have a thread that shows up, and we realize, hey, that thread really doesn't match. This pattern's getting a little too busy. And somehow that thread goes away all on its own. Or maybe we create a boundary. Maybe we do something, but we have to rely on the good of other people. We have an interdependence because the God of your being, as you show up as a wave in the ocean of love, the ocean wants to know itself as you, but see, that wave has to interact with other waves and make new waves. Stir up the stuff that's, at the bottom of the ocean, and it creates more life. Trust in the God of other people. Trust in the God of yourself. And that takes some courage. But here's the payoff. Here's the payoff. You end up with this beautiful tapestry, and it's not just all one color. It's not just one color, because if we all walked around and all we saw was the white all the time, we would eventually not be able to see all of the beautiful colors that are available to us in this playground of manifest life. So this week, your challenge, if you're willing to be courageous, is to wake up every morning and connect with the truth of who you are. If you live close enough, go stick your feet in the water at the ocean and know that I am a wave in this ocean of love that shows up in so many different beautiful ways. And that which doesn't feel good in this world, I want you to take a breath and then reconnect with this truth, this light within. And ask for a sign. Help me see this as good. What is the good in this for me to experience? Because God means it for good. Do you trust that? That God means it for good? Do you trust that?
Yes. Yes.
Say every day. And if you don't trust it for good, then call me up. Let's have a prayer meeting. Because sometimes that's challenging. And then a couple times a day, remember, bring yourself, take a breath. You don't have to sit there for 10 minutes and think, okay, I can't think about anything for 10 minutes. All you have to do is just stop and breathe. Take 2 minutes. Unless you're really busy, and then take 10. But, the more we quiet what's happening up here, the more we get done in the world. It's amazing how that happens. Stop. Come back to the truth of who you are. Focus on love, and you experience more love. That's our word for today. I love you, friends. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Rev Todd. I love what you said. I am a divine idea in the mind of God, living this beautiful tapestry called life, needing to rely on the good of others showing up in our lives. But I realize that sometimes we struggle to trust, afraid to be hurt, or sometimes we just don't want to disappoint ourselves again, yet again. Living in the shadows, the best of me stares back in the mirror. Can't tell you how many times I've said, I'll get it together. I know I have the power, but can't find the courage. The one looking back here is waiting for change. Waiting for me to trust in myself again. Living like a lone wolf, no one gets to disappoint me when I never give them the chance to hurt or tell me any lies. I know we need each other, but it's hard to let you in. The voids I've created are waiting for change. Waiting for me to trust other people again. I've got to start with me, that's no surprise. Trust in the process instead of living in disguise. Trust in the wholeness that can heal all the lives. The fullness of me is waiting to come alive. 'Cause there are two eyes in spirit, the divine in the mirror, and I've got to start with me, that's no surprise. Trust in the process instead of living in disguise. Trust in the wholeness that can see, that can heal all the lies. The fullness of me is waiting to come alive. 'Cause there are two eyes in spirit, the divine in the mirror, and there are two eyes in spirit, the divine in the mirror, and
Deidrey, who wrote that song?
I did.
Oh my God.
I didn't know that. When did you write that song?
This morning.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
She is amazing.